A recent Ofsted report on design and technology at Key Stage 1 and 2 found that teachers tended to concentrate on the making part of D&T at the expense of thinking about both design and evaluation. The founder of Cornwall's Design and Making Centre and County Advisor for D&T, David Prest, agrees.
Teachers tend to concentrate on the end product. They look for things to make rather than looking for things to make, but understanding the knowledge and skills and processes that they need to develop through those activities.
In this programme, we'll see how one teacher in Cornwall has taken David Prest's approach to heart, and how other teachers can take what she's doing and apply it in their own classrooms. At Torpoint Infant School near Plymouth, Teresa Wilton teaches a Year 1 class. We filmed her for 2 days as she guided her class through a D&T project about moving pictures.
What things can you see, Georgina? The project that we'll be starting today is based on the book Canda's Surprise, and I want the children to be thinking about how to make this book more interesting, more appealing, how to promote the book for younger readers, looking at perhaps making it a moving picture book or a small gift or toy. Which part of the giraffe do you want to make move? They may actually not come up with a product at the end. To me, in this particular lesson, that isn't important. It's whether they've learnt the skills. Can they make something that moves? Can they join materials? Can they communicate their ideas? Can they evaluate what they've done?
Teresa planned her project to run as a block of work over 2 days. And using footage filmed over that time, Teresa, David and Pauline Hannigan, a Year 5-6 class teacher, look at the approach and reflect on what other teachers might learn from it. After she's read the story, Teresa begins the project by giving the children the chance to be inspired by hands-on exploration of the materials they'll be using.
Lots and lots of different materials.
So what was it you wanted the children to learn and to experience through the activity?
Well, first of all and foremost, I really wanted them to explore and find out about materials through play. I also wanted them to find out about the properties of materials, if they could change them, if they could work with them, which ones were easy to work with. I also wanted them to explore ways of joining these materials.
I think this notion of children playing with materials is really important.
Oh, it's vital.
Irrespective of age, in a sense.
Yes, I think
I think it's really important right the way through, right through Key Stage 2 as well. The fact that children have actually got choices of different materials, they've got a huge range to choose from.
Give it a bit of a twist.
So here, the children are encouraged to explore the tools and materials they're going to use before tackling any actual design work. In a group session, Teresa sets out the idea of design criteria and introduces key words, which the children will become familiar with over the course of the project.
There are certain things it has to do, and you've got to remember these. Whatever you decide to make must move. It's got to have something that moves. Just thinking, right, I've got a piece of plastic here, which we call Corex. I might want to use that Corex, but I also might want to use a piece of paper. What am I going to have to think about if I've got these 2 different materials?
Stick them together.
Stick them together. Ooh, you're nearly there. Can you think of a different word other than stick? Because we don't have to stick things together. There's a special word beginning with a J. Joining them.
I like the way you've pinpointed the technical language and put it on the whiteboard so the children can actually see the words as well as hear the words.
I also found that a useful prompt for me as a teacher to make sure that I was focusing in on certain things as well. You've had the rivets on your table and some of you managed to use them. How did you actually manage to get them together? Who used them? What did you have to do to them?
You have to click them.
You have to push them together. They've got like little teeth, and if you push them together...
Why did you choose to demonstrate that rather than let the children find out experientially?
Because sometimes through, playing, the children don't discover quite what they have to do with them. So, there are times when you have to stand in and actually show them what to do. But I wasn't telling them what they were going to do with them next. Yeah. I showed them how to use it, what to do with it. And then it was up to them whether they were going to use it.
I think it's absolutely essential to get the balance right between teaching skills and letting the children explore.
What sort of shape is that parrot's beak? Does it look like a square?
No.
It's a sort of triangular...
It's like a pyramid.
Yeah, it's got, well, you can see a shape in it, can't you? When we're cutting out, what we're doing is we're thinking about the shapes that we're using.
I really like the language that you integrate into your design and technology, both in the written word, but also when you focus in on shape and size and particular shapes, sort of like triangle or circle. It must be boosting their literacy as well as their design technology skills.
Well, I mean, design and technology should not be seen in isolation. I think that is a really, really important point. You could not do this lesson without the elements of numeracy, literacy, science. You know, it is essentially a very cross-curricular subject, and I think you probably...
Absolutely. I mean, I think design technology is wonderful for taking children's thinking skills forward.
Yes.
I've always felt that design and technology is a real bridge between the arts and the sciences. Yes. And actually you're using language, you're using numeracy. Children have to have something they want to talk about and to be numerous about.
Setting out the design brief helps the children develop a clear picture of the objectives they need to achieve. Teresa sets the task: make an object for a younger child based on one of the animals in the book. Now the children get to work on their designs.
How could I use my pipe cleaner to join these two bits of Corex together? The clue is using the material, using the holes. I want to see if you can join two pieces of Corex, you two pieces of Corex with a pipe cleaner.
The children need a little guidance with the concept of incorporating different movable joints, but nearly all end up making some exciting discoveries.
It goes all the way up and then it just round back the other way and then it goes back the other way.
Teresa uses every opportunity to remind the children of the design criteria.
Do they move? What can you add to that to make it move? What could you use that was different? Can you think of a different way of joining those that we found out this morning? What could we use?
This is a really important stage, isn't it? To stop the children and get them to think and reiterate the design criteria, what it is they're actually doing, because it's very easy for kids to get carried away when they're playing, and then we were just holding them back here and say, let's think again about what it is we need to do.
So you've got a long neck, and at the bottom of his long neck he's got his body.
That's just magical, isn't it? Where that kid turns the piece of Corex around. Thank you, it's a giraffe's head. But I wonder what's going on in his mind when he's actually made something that will rotate like that.
Both the same.
It'd be lovely to get into their minds and
It's
understand.
just so wonderful. Look, he's gone back to the other way up again.
Yeah. I mean, obviously he wouldn't understand the word rotate, but he's now made something with a moving part. He's already achieved one of the objectives of the lesson.
Yeah.
Whether he actually understands that, of course, is another thing.
You have to use both hands, Amber. Ready? You do it together. Ready? Hold it like this. Then you ready? Wind your fingers. There we go.
I really like that part where your TA is working with that child. It's just such a lovely example of collaborative working, if you like, with an adult and a child. It's lovely.
I mean, it is a wonderful asset to have another adult, but especially a teaching assistant, whereby you can actually plan and work together prior to the lesson. And I think that is important, that you do spend some time talking them through. For example, so that they know and are familiar with the tools that you're going to be using, and that they have the objectives in mind as well, so that they can question the children in a similar way.
I think sometimes with other adults in the classroom you have to be very careful that they don't jump in and do things for the children.
It's giving the child the ownership, isn't it?
Absolutely, it's so important.
By the end of session 1, the children seem happy with their creations. It's important to try and strike a balance between giving set tasks and allowing for experimentation. The children are reminded of the project's aims, and Teresa has made sure her teaching assistant is well briefed.
On this big sheet of paper here, it says, what have you used to join your materials?
The Ofsted report on design and technology highlighted the lack of evaluation as a weakness in the teaching of the subject.
Does your design move?
But how can children as young as 5 and 6 evaluate their work?
And if it does move, I want you to be thinking about how. How does your design move?
As part of Teresa's approach, the children work in pairs to discuss each other's design.
How's he moving, Louis?
He's sliding.
Good boy, he's sliding. Has anybody else got a sliding movement? This goat, if we have a look there, he's definitely a moving picture, isn't he? And why is he sliding? What have you done to get him to slide?
I cut the sled.
We had a design criteria.
Finally, each child assesses the success of their individual design.
Do you think a younger child would enjoy playing with something like this when he's reading the book?
Yes.
You think so? You think you've designed something for a younger child? You've told me that your design moves. You've told me that you've used different materials and you've joined them. How do you think you've done? How do you think you've done with this designing today? How do you feel about your? You think you've done well? I think you've done really well because you've done everything that I've asked you to do. So well done, Nicholas. Give yourselves a thumbs up. That's excellent.
Which was the bit that moved, Max?
In order to incorporate some ICT, one pair work with the teaching assistant to carry out their evaluation at the computer. The rest of the class fill out evaluation sheets. They use observational drawings and short written comments to record reflections on their designs.
I've actually brought some of their work with me. The children have started to sort of record what they've done so far. They've started to draw. They're comparing their initial design to the design they've got so far.
That's brilliant, because there's no way the child would have drawn that without
with
this
a blank
in front.
piece of paper
No,
straight
they've
away.
actually got to have worked with the materials at
Yes.
this stage, and then they can record it once there's something
Well, they've
in
got
front of them.
something
Whereas at the end of the
concrete.
key stage, I guess you'd expect children perhaps to have a plan, some sort of view in mind, which they can then realise. And when it comes to your key stage 2, the planning on paper is going to be very much to the fore.
Was there any material?
Teresa finishes off the project with a plenary session. She uses it as an opportunity for the children to reflect on their achievements and, in some cases, the problems they encountered.
Paper cutter. I was using some of this
You
kind
were
of
trying to
stuff,
cut the corrects with the paper.
but it wouldn't work.
What? I'm going to ask you to think about that. You were trying to use a paper cutter to cut corrects. What do you think you were doing wrong?
Using the wrong, the corrects wasn't the right thing to do.
No, what would you use the paper cutter to cut?
Paper.
Well done. So you found out that actually choosing the right tool for the right material is really important. So that was a really good discovery. Well done, Nicholas. They may actually not come up with a product at the end. To me, in this particular lesson, that isn't important. It's whether they've learnt the skills, whether they have achieved what I tend to set out, which is, can they make something that moves? Can they join materials? Can they communicate their ideas? Can they evaluate what they've done?
Or that really is the nub of good design technology. Very careful planning, very carefully thinking through the objectives for a unit of work, but allowing children to go off in directions within parameters.
Design and technology teaching is about getting the right balance between teaching skills and allowing for experiential learning through materials. Teresa used a familiar text to inspire the children's ideas. If you have support in the classroom, it's important to brief that person well so that they can reiterate the project's design criteria. Finally, look out for cross-curricular opportunities. A detailed lesson plan and copies of worksheets used in this project are available on the Teachers TV website.